Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie, and if you saw my PaleyFest video for Arrow and the Flash yesterday, you know Greg Berlanti teased that they might be doing Wally West in Season 2, so I wanted to do an explainer video for his comic book history and, some changes that the show might make to him based on what's going on in the New 52 and some of the things they've already done with the characters. They've already made some changes to the West family, so they can't do a straight-up adaptation of the pre-New 52 Wally West. And for those that are asking about the clips that they posted, they posted new footage from the rest of the season from The Flash and Arrow. Because they haven't posted high quality versions of those trailers yet, I'm just going to wait to do a breakdown. But just quick synopsis, Eddie Thawne does some very villainous looking stuff. It looked like he shot a couple cops, so it looks like he goes off the rails completely. That might start the sequence of events that leads to one of his descendants becoming the Reverse Flash. Just speculation, but on Arrow, Quentin is seen inside the Arrow cave saying, "I got you now, son of a bitch." So it seems like he's going to go after Team Arrow. Don't worry, they'll post high quality versions of those soon, so I'll do breakdowns whenever they do that. Moving into Wally West territory. So he was the modern age Flash DC brought in after Barry Allen died during Infinite Crisis in the 80s. Thankfully, the TV show is opting for sanity and making it a much linear story, so it's much easier to follow if you don't read comics, so don't worry about that. Some of you may have heard me talk about it in previous videos, but what they're doing on the TV show is taking the Barry Allen character and blending it with the Wally West run pre-New 52. So you get a lot of like the classic characters from the Barry Allen Silver Age comics with a lot of the tone and the humor from the Wally West run. There's a lot of mixing and matching characters from both runs too. That's why whenever they introduce new characters, I always try and say which issue that they started out in. Wally West debuted in the comics in Volume 2, the Silver Age, the Barry Allen era, issue 110. He was created by Carmine Infantino and John Broome, the same guys that created most of the Rogues, a lot of the Barry Allen Silver Age characters. He started out as Kid Flash. Whenever he first got powers, he had the red costume, just made to look a lot like Barry's costume, but then they gave him the yellow Kid Flash costume. Subsequent versions of Kid Flash, like Bart Allen for instance, have honored that, like they've worn the yellow variant. Originally, Wally West had this really strained relationship with his parents, so he looks to his Uncle Barry and Iris as role models. One day while he was visiting the Central City Crime Lab where Barry worked, he was caught in an accident just like Barry's accident that gave him Flash powers, so Wally West got Flash powers in the exact same way. I know they play with it, like the TV show is doing a more modern take on the origin story. Whenever Wally West was created in the comics, they hadn't thought of the Speed Force yet. That wasn't until Mark Waid's run way later. So Barry Allen originally got his powers with a normal lightning bolt and a combination of a bunch of different chemicals. And that's what happened to Wally West. On the TV show, like they had an Easter egg for that. Like there's a bunch of chemicals that spill whenever Barry gets his powers, but the lightning bolt that hits him isn't a normal lightning bolt. It's the Speed Force itself hitting him and infusing his body. If you saw the Justice League Flashpoint movie, they honor the original origin story, where it's a combination of chemicals and a regular lightning bolt. If you don't read the comics, don't worry. If they bring Wally West on the show, he'll probably just be infused with the dark matter, just like Barry Allen was, and that'll be like the Speed Force. It's them tapping into the dark matter. That's what they're calling the Speed Force. So after he first debuted in the Flash comics, Wally West went on to join Teen Titans as Kid Flash. The writers got tired of telling stories with like a really young version of him, so they gave him this weird disease whereby he would start aging faster and faster the more he used his Speed Force powers. It's a funny comic book way to explain why they want a character to go from being a kid to being an adult really fast. I guess they felt like the adult version of Wally West would be more interesting. So cut to Infinite Crisis in the mid-80s, Barry Allen sacrifices himself to save the Earth. In the final battle with the Anti-Monitor's forces, Wally West is struck by an antimatter blast that cures his disease, so he's frozen in his adult state. And Jay Garrick eventually encourages him to take the mantle of the Flash. So he puts down the title of Kid Flash and just becomes the Flash proper. That lasted all the way up to Flashpoint. I mean, they did bring Barry Allen back during Flash Rebirth during Final Crisis, but Wally West was still technically the main Flash of the main universe. Post-Crisis, after he took the mantle of the Flash, they also made a whole bunch of changes to the characters. They used Infinite Crisis, or Crisis on Infinite Earths, to depower like all their characters. So Superman got less powerful, and Wally West, instead of being able to run faster than the speed of light like Barry Allen, he could only run a little bit faster than the speed of sound. But they changed that too. Over time, he slowly got more powerful, more and more powerful. Eventually, there was this story called The Once and Future Flash. Barry Allen returned from the dead, but it turned out to be Eobard Thawne masquerading as Barry. In order to defeat him, Wally West has to overcome this mental block that's preventing him from accessing the full extent of his powers. So after he defeats the Reverse Flash, the Eobard Thawne Reverse Flash, he's back up to Barry Allen levels of power. They did change his powers a little bit. Like, he can't do exactly the same things that Barry does, but they gave him extra powers in addition to that. So Mark Waid, this is like Mark Waid run. He introduced the idea of the Speed Force, and they used that as like the scientific explainer for how there could be other speedsters, where their powers came from. They also introduced the idea of giving and stealing Speed Force power. So like Wally West can steal speed from the Reverse Flash, and the Reverse Flash can steal speed from Wally West. They tease this a little bit on the show where Harrison Wells is like slowly absorbing Speed Force energy, teasing the idea that, he's trying to get Barry Allen to be faster and faster so that he can siphon more Speed Force power. During the 90s, they tried to take a more realistic approach to the character. That's when he started having to eat tons and tons of food. On the current TV show right now, Cisco just created super energy bars for Barry to eat. I mean, if you ever watched the original Flash show with John Wesley Shipp, there's a scene where he had to eat like 20 pizzas. Whenever Jeff Johns took over the comic book, that's when Wally West got married to Linda Park. They had a lot of their own adventures too, where like Linda Park and their children got Speed Force powers. Don't know if the show's going to get into that territory, because we do have Linda Park, but they've combined Linda Park with the Barry Allen run where she's dating Barry. There was even this Dark Flash storyline where an alternate timeline Wally West tried to take over the real Wally West's life. He was like this older, scarred version of Wally from a timeline where Linda Park had been murdered. Things had gone to shit, so he traveled to the main timeline and tried to pass himself off as Wally. Eventually, he did leave and tried to find his own timeline, but it's a slightly different take on the DC universe, and it kind of contradicts multiverse theory, so I don't think the TV show is gonna try and do any Dark Flash stuff. And just to be clear, the Dark Flash is a completely different character than any of the Reverse Flashes. Although right now in the New 52 comics, Barry Allen is fighting a future version of himself. I think that's why a lot of people think that Harrison Wells might be a future version of Barry, just because like right now in the comics, Barry's fighting a version of himself from 20 years in the future that's gone super dark. I don't think that's what the show is doing, because mostly the show draws from classic Silver Age Barry Allen and modern age Wally West, not like New 52 stuff, but we'll find out. Like, they'll completely explain everything by the end of this season. So fast forward to yesterday, they kind of confirmed Wally West, kind of not. I mean, it's not a confirmation. They just said, if we're going to do it, we would do it in season 2. Right now in the New 52 universe, there's a Daniel West that's the brother of Iris West, and there's a Wally West, two completely different characters. Daniel West was introduced as the New 52 version of the Reverse Flash. He's the brother of Iris West, so clearly the show is not doing Daniel West. Wally West was just reintroduced as part of this like Barry versus future Barry storyline. It gets really complicated, but basically he has a completely new backstory. He's not Barry's nephew anymore. It's a more street version of the character, and then they're just now starting to develop him. So, I mean, we'll see which direction they take the character, but if the TV show does Wally West, what they'll probably do is either they'll do like a New 52 version whereby Barry Allen and the Reverse Flash mess with the timeline so much that it creates ripples and a Wally West character gets Speed Force powers as a result. Or Iris will have like a cousin that will come visit the town and he'll get caught in a particle accelerator accident and get Speed Force powers. Some of what the producers said at PaleyFest implies that they might be trying for a Flashpoint type storyline whereby, the Reverse Flash or Barry Allen changes something in the past and it creates a lot of butterfly effects, changing the characters for season 2. It'd be like a backdoor to Caitlin Snow turning evil, becoming Killer Frost, getting powers. I don't know that they're necessarily going to do that. It's just one possibility for a way they could introduce a new Wally West character and give him Speed Force powers if he doesn't already have them. That's actually a really good jumping off point. So here's my big question for you guys. If they bring Wally West on the show and give him Speed Force powers, how do you want him to get those Speed Force powers? Do you want it to be some sort of like messing with a timeline situation where an alternate reality is created a la Flashpoint? Or do you want to see like in the main timeline, Barry Allen do something with the Speed Force, some, weird power situation where he grants power to a new character? If the show has told us anything, it's that there is no limit to the amount of accidents that can be caused by messing around at Star Labs. So I think if Wally West does get powers, it'll definitely be involved with shenanigans going down at Star Labs. So don't forget, new episode of The Flash next week. It's episode 15. They're introducing time travel and the new Weather Wizard. Be sure to subscribe to get my video. I'll post it right after the episode airs. And a new episode of Arrow. That's going to be episode 16. They're out of sync. It's going to be a little bit weird, but that's fine. Arrow's going to take a much deeper dive into League of Assassins. Ra's al Ghul is going to explain his offer. So while you guys wait for those episodes to drop, you can click here for my PaleyFest breakdown where I explain some of the stuff that they talked about, some of the stuff they teased, and you can click here to get ready for Walking Dead tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys tonight. Now let's all do the thing.